Hey coaches, Coach Eric here, coachestrainingroom.com. We are here for the live Mondays with Coach Mark. Coach Mark is obviously here as well. We are so excited to have this live today with you. And we are looking forward to doing a lot more lives like this. Just to kind of briefly talk through that and why we're doing these Mondays live is because one is so you get to know us and we can get to know you and get to know your specific questions. You've probably seen a lot of our posts, a lot of our sessions, and we hope you've enjoyed that. And we're here to provide value to you directly, okay? And what we're gonna do is little bite-sized snippets of training every Monday from 5 to 5:30. We got Coach Mark on here live we're gonna, if you could post any questions you have in the comments, we might not get to them because like I said, it's a limited time that we have here live. But if you put your comments you put your questions in the comments, we will look through them and get to them. We might not get to them on that specific live, but definitely we'll take note for future lives. But again, mark it in your calendar every Monday from 5 to 5:30. We're gonna be on here live. Now, again, my name's Coach Eric. And just a little background about me. I'm in Michigan. I live in Michigan here in the United States. And I do a lot of training. I got my NSCAA license for coaching, but my main sweet spot is small group and one-on-one trainings. And Coach Mark and I actually, believe it or not, have never met in person. We actually met on an online soccer forum, and then from there just grew Coach's Training Room. We collaborated and initially started out with the app, and then we grew it into what is now Coach's Training Room. So that was about what, 5 or 6 years ago, Mark?
End of 2013, I think. Yeah. So if my maths is right.
Yeah. So awesome. Yeah. So yeah, we're really excited to see the growth of Coach's Training Room. We're happy to see you coaches here with us live, and let's get right into it. Coach Mark, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us what the topic is and what we're going over with today.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, good evening. It's 10:10 in the UK. I'm in Manchester, so I operate out of Manchester. Obviously, my background loosely is I'm a coach from the UK who was blessed with the experience to go out to America, travel a little bit coaching, and I was based in Northern California for a good length of time. And obviously, come back to the UK. I'm still coaching here. Obviously, there's a lot going on with Coach's Training Room, and partly the ideas that have been formulated have come about because of obviously Eric's coaching background and his playing background, which he forgot to mention, which is a very decorated player as well, Eric, is my exposure to a lot of different coaches from a lot of different backgrounds, and the idea that you can you could have 10, 15, 20 different coaches providing one session plan on one particular topic, and if you were to deliver that to an under 10s age group, come the end of that session, or the session plans that were handed in by the coaches, there would probably be 15, 20 different potential outcomes with still the same end goal, but 20 different routes to that same that same goal. So it's important that as any coach that you obviously take information in from every area that you can, and a lot of the work that I'm doing now with Coach's Training Room is collating ideas from coaches from all over the world, with ideas from myself, and putting that into digestible information that you can take away. So really, I'm going to keep it nice and broad for this particular topic, and I'm hoping that your questions and ideas and comments are going to create the next week's worth of sessions and so on and so forth. So I'm going to be looking at planning a session here, which in itself is a little bit of a, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit as we go through it, because as a coach, you'll know you can plan for a session. You can spend hours beforehand thinking how this is going to look in practice. You've seen what we've done the week before, potentially the game week before, or you can look at your long-term development plan for your particular players, and you can think, right, okay, for this week we need to be working on a particular topic. And you get to the field, you've got your, I don't know, let's keep it nice, easy numbers. Got your session plan for 12 players, and you turn up. You turned up early. You've got your field laid out nice, and you're ready for the players. You got the additional equipment. You've got everything that you're going to possibly need. And 3 of your players who've been carpooling together are stuck in traffic, and they're 15 minutes late. And then you've got another 2 players who cancel last minute, which is going to leave you with a nice round 7 for the start of the session. So for everything that you planned, everything that you put into practice, you're now left with the potential for the plan to be scuppered. So really, as a coach, it's going to be, this is one of the main occasions, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that, where you're going to need.
Yeah, let's see how many of you have related to that. Let's see some likes in the feed here. Throw some likes or comment. Yes, that's me. That's happened to me. I know it's happened pretty much 9 times out of 10. It's going to happen. If you've been coaching for any amount of time, you've had to work with different numbers of kids showing up to games. So that's why we wanted to do this topic first, because we feel it applies to pretty much every coach. And we just also wanted to say thanks for joining us. We got Jeff Ginn or Jin on, Coach Jeff. We got Coach Pele from Leicester, is that how you say it? I'm trying to Leicester, sorry. I'm US, okay? I don't know. I should have Mark say that. And then we got Casey Davis from South Carolina. We got Nasser from Nigeria. Welcome. Awesome.
Casey, I saw your message pop up actually. I was trying to reply. I think you were looking for the live feed. So you're here, you made it.
Excellent. Well, thanks, coaches. Like I said, we're going to do this ongoing Mondays. So think of your questions ahead of time, pop them in the comments, throw us some likes, share, have a watch party, share these lives with us, because we're all looking to grow from each other. So we appreciate your comments, your likes, your shares, and we're going to keep digging into the content here. And we'll keep those comments coming and sharing here. We're here for you, coaches, and to help you out. So we'll keep rolling here. Go ahead, Mark, and I'll watch the feed as well.
Okay. Preparedness, just going back to that, preparedness is one of the non-negotiables as a coach. It is you setting an example to your players. So regardless of your qualifications, your background, how decorated you are as a coach, if you're turning up with a session planned, it's a sign of respect to your players. It shows that you take a lot of you believe in what you're doing, and ultimately in bettering your players. So preparedness is one non-negotiable, and then also thinking on your feet is the next part of that. So now you don't have all the players for the session to run effectively at this point. So what could you do as a coach at this stage? So first things, just avoid any knee-jerk reactions, and I'm going to widen that out slightly. Okay, so going through your session plan, you've planned a session for the number of the players that you've planned for. Ultimately, that's not the way it's worked out. So we'd gone for 12 to start with. That's the magic number in coaching, because you can have individual work, you could have twos, groups of 2, you could have 3s, 4s, 6s, 12s. So with that in mind, you've got the 7 players that you've got here. So you've still got potentially a group of 3 and a group of 4. So can you still make that session plan work with the number of players that you've got? It might be that some of the technique under passive pressure stuff you can do in small groups while the other players arrive, because you still have potentially those 3 turning up, which is going to give you a 10. So when you do move into the technique under real pressure, you've got potentially 5v5 there. You've got some smaller group stuff that you can make work. So it might just be a case of getting the players moving, getting a ball at their feet, and waiting for those other players to turn up without just completely scrapping the plan that you had in mind, and just go into a couple of go-to games that you know work, and which will take up the time, because that time that you've got on the field is your only time with those players when you really think about it, because when they get to the field and they cross over that line and they're on the pitch now, your input as a coach is minimal, because other than being supportive and some potentially positional tweaks, you're not really going to be able to do anything other than encourage at that point. So the learning stuff, this is your time, so you need to make the absolute most of it. Also, if you wanted to get your assistant coach in just to make the numbers even for a minute, anything like that, just to keep the session plan running. And I've also noted here to keep a plan B, plan C of related sessions. So even if the first session plan can't work and you were going to work on passing, can you have a potentially a plan B, plan C, just to make sure that you stay on topic and make sure that the players can get something out of the session there, okay? Because there are lots of games that can accommodate smaller groups, odd numbers, for example. Obviously, it is a frustration for every coach, and every coach will have experienced it at some point, having the session plan that you'd gone for, the plan that you'd put into action be changed last minute by something that is outside of your control. So again, just relating that back to thinking on your feet, how could you overcome that? And it might be as simple as well as it might be the field spacing. You might have more teams practicing on one night because of rained out sessions. It might be backed up. You might not have the space that you thought you were going to get, in which case, again, you might have to accommodate that in your session plan.
Yes. And if you notice, I posted in the comments to just put your questions there. If you have any questions about this topic, planning a session for Coach Mark, like I said, there are times where we will be able to answer it right here live. That's why we're doing this as well. If we can fit it in, we will. And just say hi too. We're here to say hi, so you get to know that we're real. We're real people. We're real coaches here to help you become the best, make your life easier as a coach, and and just grow with each other. So feel free to put in questions below. So far, we've had a lot of people tell us where they're from. Giving some thumbs up, some likes. We appreciate that. And we hope the questions, you post some questions there. We're here for you, coaches, and we're here to help each other out. So like I said, this is happening every Monday. Mark it in your calendar, get your questions ready, and post it below. If we don't get it here, we'll get it on the next live video. But we're going to be doing some key topics every single week. So keep us in your calendar, and definitely looking forward to it. So we got a question actually from Coach Casey right away here. How detailed do you make your session plans? My practices run for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So when I plan, I normally allot certain time frames for each portion of the training. Does that work? And how much time do you allot for various skills? No, that's a loaded question, Mark. But and I don't know if you're finished with the other, but it's up to you. I just wanted to, since the question just came in right away.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Thank you for the question, Casey. We'll go right in and just get into some of those points. So we'll just unpack that a little bit. So as far as the detail in the session plan, now we'll just keep it nice and simple. We'll say we're working on passing. So you'll know which the level that your players are at. So if you don't want to be working on the technical fine tuning, you want to take them straight to where you want them to be, then go ahead and do so. So ultimately, we're going to get warmed up with the ball at the feet. It could just be passing a ball around just to get us to where we want to be, just get those muscles working, and then move quickly into the topic that we want. So it might be that we're trying to break down an opposition. So you're gonna load it firstly in the attacker's favor, or I would, just to get some success going there. But ultimately, I would say if you've got, does it say a time in there, Eric? I can't quite see the full question. Does it say how long Casey gets?
2 hours and 15 minutes.
2 hours, 15 minutes.
Pretty good amount of time.
Yeah, that's a good amount of time. So that's going to allow you for a good length condition game. So you could be talking about 20 minutes per aspect if you've got 4 aspects in there. building it up, then that's going to leave you a decent length of time for the scrimmage. But ultimately, it's important to, if you see something that's working, maybe go with it and just tweak that individual session plan. It might be that you can actually, rather than reset the field or set up the next session, it might be that something's working and you see something there that you can just tweak it ever so slightly and just pull a player from the attacking team and make them an extra defender, just to without stopping the game and starting it again. You're just increasing the pressure, and players in those instances don't necessarily notice that or they don't notice as much that the challenge has increased, because they were just continuing with the normal game, but you've just pulled players here and there to increase the pressure, make the numbers a little bit more even. So it might be that your starting game, which had no pressure, turns into an hour, because you can just pull little bits from, change the challenge ever so slightly. A favorite of a lot of coaches I've worked with, and now mine, is to, if you are passing the ball around and the area is nice and big to start off with, just to give you the time on the ball and the success, while players aren't necessarily looking, I'm just moving cones in to 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, to make the area smaller. And players don't realize that they're now playing in a smaller space, but you've restricted the time on the ball. So you've made that challenge a little bit more difficult. So you can tweak it how you will. So it's really just a case of playing it by ear at the time, really, and that thinking on your feet. Sorry to keep repeating that there. But one thing that I would say is, if something's going right, then it was probably too easy. If you set up the field and the session goes perfectly first time, you need to be moving on quickly, because the chances are the challenge is a little bit too, and it's great for getting the success up to begin with. So if you want the passes to be connecting and to increase the confidence and get players to move about and understand, great, let them do that. And once you've got what you need from that, don't leave them waiting too long, because they're able to take a little bit more from you. So it does say here about various skills. I would stick to one session. If you're focusing on passing, defending, whatever it's going to be, that needs to be repeated throughout your session, and the small-sided game needs to actually be related to that topic, and they're testing what you've been working on in that particular session. So make sure that you're relating it back to what you were working on at the start. If there's any breaks in play, or if you see something that you think you need to highlight, whether it's a positive or a correction, then you could stop it, freeze the players where they are, and point that out so they can see what you're seeing as a coach as well.
Excellent. Also, yeah, awesome. I know that a lot of coaches are coaching different age groups. So as far as different ages, smaller kids or younger kids having shorter attention span and needing things to move pretty quickly, and incorporating games a lot into their sessions is key as well, as far as from my experience working with younger kids versus older age groups, just keeping it light, fun, and then adding a lot of the fun element into it, but not letting it go too far fun, and then incorporating learning the skill sets in the games is important. So we have resources as far as coaches training room, have resources for all different age groups. So if there's something specific or something you're looking for, we can guide you to some of our blog articles, which gives a certain level of information. And then of course, if you need further, just reach out or post it as a question, and we'll hit it sometime in the future. But just so you know, nothing is off limits as far as your question for us as coaches. If it has to do with parents, younger kids, older players as well, that's always welcome too, because we know that you're dealing with a lot as coaches, planning and dealing with the parents, dealing with scheduling conflicts, dealing with weather, and just every aspect. So nothing's off limits. Let us know, because don't be afraid to post a question. You might be thinking about it and not posting, but a lot of your questions will be relevant to other coaches as well.
Yeah, and just to round back onto that question there, I mentioned about knee-jerk reactions when your players don't necessarily turn up to a session. That is, I talked a little bit about the session going right and the potentially the ease of the challenge that you're putting forward and whether you could make that a little bit more difficult. The reverse of that is sometimes we can set players off with a bit of a challenge that they have to think about a little bit. And I think that a session going wrong is not necessarily a bad thing. And it's important to avoid that knee-jerk reaction as a coach where you jump in and you explain, okay, well, this isn't going right because X, Y, and Z. Sometimes if you give it a little bit of time to go wrong, some of the best sessions are the ones that start off with a little bit of chaos in there, because it gives your players the chance to step up and work as a team to solve a problem. So I'll give a nice easy example is you've got let's go 12 players again. So you got 12 players on your team. You're gonna each player will have a number, and you're, as a coach, you go in and you say, right, your first job, we're going to give you all a number, and you remember your number. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through to 12, and then you put a ball into the middle on a 30 by 30 yard area and say, okay, pass through the numbers 1 through 12. And you're going to get, the first time you run it, you're going to get a few blank faces where players, okay, well, they were given one instruction, and that was to remember their number. They don't know who number 2 is, and they'll look at each other a little bit confused for 10 seconds before somebody says, "Who's number 2?" And then number 2 puts their hand up, ball passes to number 2, and then that pattern repeats. Number 3, and before you know it, the session that you could have just said, "Okay, right, start passing the ball around," suddenly you've got players who are having to talk to each other now. Right, where's 6? Where's 7? 7's putting their hand up and shouting, and people are talking, and that's obviously a common theme as well with the with younger players, is not necessarily communicating enough. So that's a good way to get people talking. But if there was somebody watching from the sidelines who saw the start of the session, they'd just see a load of people shrugging shoulders and the ball not moving very far. So that would be an example of a session going wrong to go right. And the end product would be players who are talking to each other and passing the ball around in sequence. And ultimately from there, once that starts going right, again, you don't want to keep that at that level for too long. You might want to put a second ball in there. So a ball with number 1 and the ball with number 6. So now you've increased the speed by adding a second ball. It could be that you want to put a defender in there. And again, now players are going to have to move to be seen by the other player. And then you could take away all verbal communication altogether, so that players are having to put their hand up now or move into the line of sight of that player if they can't make any sound, and then they'll see the importance of using the voice when you actually allow them to talk on the field again. So that's just one example of letting a session, not that knee-jerk reaction to jump in, that control as a coach to say we need to be doing this. Sometimes if you let players understand why they're doing that, then the message will be actually retained a little bit longer, and they'll be able to hopefully take that with them to the field when that comes around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. I'm just going to see if there's any other questions coming in right now. Now, we do want to keep the pretty short and sweet to the point with our topic, and then answering any questions that kind of fit in to the time frame. But we are doing these from 5 to 5:30 live every week. So if you have a question, please put it in now so we can have that in mind and go through them for next week. Now, one question we did get that kind of relates to the timing of the time frame of your practice session. Now, in your opinion, Coach Mark, is there a certain average time frame for a full practice session should be? Because I'm thinking back to more when I was playing, that they were about hour and a half or so. Now, I don't know if you have thoughts on the time frame a coach should plan for.
Again, it's going to depend entirely on the number of sessions you're afforded in a week. So I think somewhere around the 90-minute mark is the sweet spot. But then if you do have longer, there's no reason why you can't work in a little bit of the tactical stuff as well. It might be that you can focus a little bit more on some field-based tactics. If your players are of that particular age where that is relevant, then you could work in some tactical stuff as well. So ultimately, it depends on how many sessions you're going to have a week. My guess is if you can get 2 90-minute sessions in per week, then that's good. But not every region can have that. There's a lot of countries with multiple sports, and soccer is ultimately a small is just one of those many sports that youth sports people play. So if you get 1 session a week that has to run a little bit longer, then so be it, just to get the points across.
Okay, great. All right, so now we're kind of coming up on our time frame. So if you have any questions, go ahead. This is kind of the last chance to get it in. We got Aggie Mang from Ghana on as well. Thanks for joining us live. I have no idea what time it is there in Ghana, but I appreciate you joining us here live. That's amazing. And we do have a lot of coaches from all over the world joining us. So that is excellent. A lot of coaches on. So we really appreciate you joining us live today. So like I said, we are going to have these ongoing. So make sure you mark your calendars, get your questions ready. We're here to help each other out. And we got Coach Mark as a resource, which is just invaluable right now for a full half hour. Any questions you have, because he's a master of breaking down a session, breaking down even like video game play. If you watch some of our webinars, Coach Mark is able to basically, based on the topic, break down an in-game situation to teach on the specific topic, and also create a lot of the animations you see he creates and breaks it down. If you watch a lot of our webinars, it's complex but simplistic in the way that he teaches. So we take advantage of this time because we have Coach Mark here to answer those questions. Great resource for all of us coaches to learn from, and we're learning from you as well. But also just think through and come up with some questions, because now's the time, and we're here to help everyone, all you coaches out as a whole, from all over, different backgrounds, all over the world, coaches that are coaching all different age groups. So we appreciate you being on live, and Coach Mark, we thank you as well for being on. So thanks for the likes, the comments, and Mark, do you have anything else for this session? This is kind of how it's going to run. It's pretty straightforward. We're here live to answer your questions. We're going to go hit the topic first, and then if we have time, go through some of the questions. So I think it's a great format to kind of hit exactly what you coaches are looking for. And Coach Mark, you have anything else to go over?
Yeah, that was that's everything from me with regards to that kind of what we're talking about today. And again, as we go, if you want to ask any questions, either in the comments, if you're watching this any other day, for example, still put the comments in the box, because we will reply to them. And ultimately, we just want to create a little bit of debate. I'm not sat here saying that the way I would do something is more correct than anybody else. It's just good to bounce these ideas off each other. It might be that somebody completely disagrees with something I said, and I would encourage somebody to say that, because then of course we can chat about it, and it might be that somebody listening to this can take something away from both sides of that and create their own ideas. And that's ultimately what makes this sport so fun, is the fact that if there was one right way of doing it, then everyone would be playing the same football, the same soccer, and it would be 11 robots versus 11 robots. But the beautiful thing is that there are different methodologies, different ideas, and it's just about exposing everybody to those. So I'm still learning. Every coach is still learning. So yeah, by all means, join us for the next week's one. If there's any questions that come in that I think are really great, then that will make the next, we'll focus on that topic as the next session and really stir up some debate. So please do ask your questions. And but as far as this topic goes, that's everything from me. So unless you got anything to add, Eric, we'll pick this up next week.
Awesome. No, that's great. I hope you coaches liked it. And every week we're going to be on here live. This is going to stay in the feed. So again, that was a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Mark. So if you're watching this not on a Monday, okay, go ahead and comment with your question, because I'm sure we'll get questions that from people that are not watching it specifically live here. But and post them in the comments, and we'll still be checking those comments, and we'll make note of it and go through it on our end, and possibly plan it for a future session. Or if it's something that we just send you a quick DM, direct message, something quick that you need help with, that could be available. That could be some way we communicate with you that way too. So anyways, put a comment down there. Casey, thank you. We appreciate you as well. Thanks for the shout out. Thanks for the question. Thanks for getting this rolling with us on the question here. And again, very light format here. So we're here for you, coaches. We are going to have a topic. We appreciate your comments. We're open live here, and we're going to have these archived as well. So we appreciate you, coaches. Again, if you're looking for more coaching resources, we do have our blog section of our site. We have a ton of resources from mainly by Coach Mark, who's very experienced and has a background in coaching, where he actually coaches other coaches on how to coach. He's traveled to the US, traveled all over coaching and training other coaches and putting plans in place for clubs. So it's excellent to have him here as a resource. And we look forward to talking to you again on the next live again. Just one more time, I'm going to say, post your questions in the comments. We appreciate your hearts, your loves, your likes on our video here, and sharing as well. So again, the resource is coachestrainingroom.com/resources, or you can just go to coachestrainingroom.com and click on the resource tab there. All right, coaches, we appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next live. Bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.